Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Masechus Rosh Hashana, Daf Chav Daled, number 24. I want to tell everybody a revelation I had in shopping. And past times I've come to America, I've come to Woodbury Commons. That was the place I went shopping. It's about an hour and a half, 2 hours away, upstate Orange County. It's owned by Simon Properties, but I realized that I went to the mall yesterday, Roosevelt Field Mall, also owned by Simon Properties. And in one store, in Macy's store, they had everything that I wanted that I found in the Woodbury Commons for cheaper prices and only 20, 25 minutes away from here in West Hempstead. So, my advice to all of you Daf Yomi learners, when you're not learning Daf Yomi, you shop at Roosevelt Field Mall. So you'll have more time to listen to my Daf Yomi share and watch my videos. Right there.
Sounds like a good idea.
Good idea. My father's happy. We don't have to go all the way out to Woodbury Commons. It's a long trek over there. Go to Roosevelt Field to get everything. 1, 2, 3. That's the way to shop. A couple years ago, I wasn't a big shopper. Now I turned into a ferocious shopper. I'm addicted to shopping, and it's a big problem because, spend money very quickly. So
Yeah, but you got some good deals.
we got some good deals. 30% off. Yesterday at Macy's, I got a pair of Shabbos shoes, Kenneth Cole, for $38. They were nice shoes. Got a good deal there. Got a Ralph Lauren jacket for a little over $100. Got some good deals. So check it out, Roosevelt Field. My father also, he's quite established in the field of fashion. He'll help you make your decisions. You should call him for some advice. $25 a minute to speak to him on the phone. He'll give you his personal advice. He'll do a voice call with you, a video call with you, video chat. You call him from live from the store. You show him, deciding between maroon and green, and black and blue. He'll choose it for you, only for $25 a minute. It's worth it. I've used it before. It's worth every penny. All right, we're gonna get started now. We're at the Mishnah on Chav Gimel and Beis, towards the bottom, almost a little more than halfway down. Mishnah says, "Kesa Bodkin as Edim." How do you check the witnesses? Witnesses that come to testify about the new moon, right? They have to make sure they saw it together. You have to see it together. Zug Sheba Rishon, the first group comes. Bodkin also Rishon. They check them first. Machnisin es hagadol shrebem. They take either the elder one, the article says, or maybe the bigger Talmud Chacham, or the more famous person. Omru emar ketzad ra'isa es halavana. What did the moon look like? Lifnei hacham or lachar hacham? Was it before the sun, or was it after the sun? We're going to see that when the sun goes through the sky during the day, the moon, even though you can't see it because it's blocked by the light of the sun, it's normally after the sun. The new moon is after the sun, not before the sun. Litzvono Ledroma was to the north or the south of the sun. Kama Hayagavoa. How tall was the the moon from the horizon of the sky? La'ayin Hayanota. Which way was it facing? Kama Hayarachav. How wide was it? Imamar Lifnei Chama Lomar Klum. If he said it was in front of the sun, like we said before, he testified falsely. It's never true. And then we bring the second witness in. Bodkin also, they would check him, they ask him the same questions. And if they sounded similar, if they already accepted the first Kadavid and the first group of witnesses, then they had no reason to get testimony from the other ones, but they would ask them Rosh Dvarim and ask him main questions, not because they needed their edus, in order that they shouldn't be disappointed, they come for naught, in order that next time they should have desire to come, because maybe they'll need their testimony. Amar says, Mishnah says two different questions. Was it before? Was the new moon before the sun or after the sun? Was it to the north or the south? The Gemara at this point assumes it's really the same question, that the new moon would be behind the sun, and usually it would be to the south. Behind the sun would be to the south of the sun, the new moon. So it's the same question. The first question, wasn't talking about where the moon is positioned. We're talking about where the concavity of the moon, right? A new moon is in a crescent. It's not a circle. So was the crescent facing the sun? Was it open to the sun, or was it away from the sun? The answer is always away from the sun. That's the way it should be. If it's he said it's facing the sun, he gave false testimony. The dominion and the fear is with Hashem. He makes peace in the skies. The sun never saw the concavity of the moon, nor the concavity of the rainbow. The reason that the crescent was never facing the sun, because if it was, it would cause chalish sadas. It would cause the sun to feel bad, so to speak. Whatever that means, look at the Maharsha or think about it yourself. And never the concavity of the rainbow was never facing the sun. The lemru of the hachama giri kameshdaya. So people shouldn't say the rainbow is like the bow and arrow of an archer, and he's shooting arrows. That the sun is avodah zarah. The sun is God, and through the rainbow he's shooting arrows at people. How big, how tall was the sun, and where was it facing? Again, we said in the Mishnah was it's the north or the south. One Brisa says to the north, and then he's saying good aid. He says to the south, it's not good aid. The Brisa is the exact opposite. The exact opposite. And where is the low kasha? When it's the summer months, let's say Tammuz or Av, so then the new moon is always to the north of the sun, the setting sun. In the winter, it's actually to the south. So when we said before, it's always to the south. That's only talking about the winter months. One person says it was two. A mardea is something used to prod a cow when it works in the field. And so it was 2 poles lengths high above the horizon. One person says it was 3 edus and chemes. Then it's good edus. We assume they both could be telling the truth, because it's a close enough share that people make a mistake. Hey, one says 3, one says 5. That edus and betela, one of them is lying. But since we're not sure which one is puzzle, so then if they have another aid, one of those 2 aid them can join with another aid to form a kat. We saw the new moon through bouncing off the water, meaning through the reflection in the water. Or we saw it through the reflection of a lantern. Or we saw a reflection of the moon in the clouds, but you didn't directly see the moon. You can't give testimony for that. If half of it was in the water, half of it was reflected in the clouds, or half of it was reflected in a lantern, a light, that also you can't give testimony. Whereas Hashana kulo amros lo, just saying if you see the whole moon, you can't give chetzim and bai. If you see half a moon, you don't see the whole moon, of course you can't give testimony. No, he saw half of it reflected in the water, and half of it he actually saw directly in the horizon, in the sky. Or he saw half in the clouds, half reflected in the clouds, or half in the actual sky. Alternatively, he saw half reflected in a lamp, half in the actual sky. That you can't do because you have to give testimony for a full moon. This is one of the bases when you do Kiddush Levana. You have to see the full moon. You can't see it through the clouds. Discussion whether you can do that. Tarabanan. Renew v'shuv lo renew. The person gives testimony. He says, I saw it, and then I didn't see it. It's not a good edus. Call haki chazu lava asli. Does it mean that a person has to see the moon when he starts seeing the moon? He has to see it forever? I mean, obviously it's going to be covered at some point, which seeing it at one point is good enough. Amar Abai haki renew me'eleinu v'shavnu l'rosa midatenu. Renew if we saw it by accident. I mean, we weren't looking for the new moon, and we think we saw it. We saw it at the corner of our eye, and then we went back and we looked for it, and we didn't see it. Then you can't give testimony. My time, Amor kovisa the eva ba'amahu dechazi. When he saw it haphazardly, he saw it accidentally. Maybe he just saw a part of a cloud that looked like a crescent of a moon. And therefore, when he looked intently for it, he realized that it really was no moon. So therefore, it's not Godedas. The Mishnah, Rosh, Beis Din, Omer Makudash. The head of the Beis Din, the one who's in charge of the Beis Din, Omer Makudash. They sanctify the new moon, he says the word Makudash. It's Kiddush HaChodesh. We call Omer Acharav Makudash Makudash. Everyone is present, answers back Makudash Makudash twice. We'll see why they say it twice. Ben Shnir Bizmano, Ben Shalom Nir Bizmano, Makajin also. Whether it was seen on the 30th day, or it wasn't seen on the 30th day, it was seen on the 31st day, or it wasn't seen at all. They're Makadesh, meaning the Rosh Beis Din says Makudash. So if it was seen, it wasn't seen on the 30th day, so they're not Makadesh. Shekvar Kichu Shamayim. This is a big, interesting Torah over here. He says that, he doesn't say because there's no point to be Makadesh. We know it's the 31st day. That's the obvious he should have said. He says Shekvar Kichu Shamayim, that Shamayim was already Makadesh, the moon, on the 30th day, which would mean that every 30th day really is Rosh Chodesh. Even when a month is 30 days, and therefore the 31st day is Rosh Chodesh, really in Shamayim, it's always 29 days. Every month is 29 days. You know that every month is 29 days. In Shamayim, already the 30th day is always Makudash. That's what the Svara is. We pass in the Kazav Tzadok. It's hard to understand what that means exactly. We know that every month is 29 and a half days roughly. So it can't be that every month is really the 30th day is Rosh Chodesh. Sometimes it's going to actually be the 31st day. Hard to understand. We'll leave it, Ben Sion. Try to figure it out. Leave your answers in the comment section, and we'll get back to you within 24 hours. All right, the Gemara. Rosh Beis Din, Minani Mili. Where do we know the Rosh Beis Din says Makudash? Amar B'chia Bar Gamda, Amar Yossi Ben Shol, Amar Rebbe, Amar Kra, Vayidaber Moshe es Moadei Hashem. It says Moshe, he was obviously the head of Sanhedrin. He says, he declares Moadei Hashem. Mikan Rosh Beis Din, Omer Makudash. Says he from Moshe, you say Makudash. Onin Achra Makudash Makudash. Where do you know the answer? That Amar of Papa, Amar Kra, Asher Tikro Osam, Asher Tikro Osam. Kari Bey Atem. Osam is that you call the new months, the reference to the month. It could also be pronounced Atem, you, meaning people, in plural, say Makudash. And that way, Yitzhak Amar, Elohim Moadei. Elohim Moadai. Haim Yomru Moadai. Haim could also be translated. Haim is people, not just the months are the new months. Haim Yomru, that the people should actually say Moadai. Makudash is Unilamli. Why do they say it twice? The Chsiv Mikrai Kodesh says Mikrai is a plural lashon, calling it twice. So Tanya, we're going to see two more opinions about this. Plimo Omer Bizmano Emakashna. So he says the exact opposite. If they saw the new month on the 30th day, so then they don't say Makudash. Shelo Bizmano Makashna. So if it was the 31st day they saw the moon, so then they say Makudash. So a third sheet he says they're never Makadish. Nemar V'kidashtem Eshas HaChamishim. You should Makadish the 50th year. It's about Yovel. Shanim Atam Makadesh, Makadesh Yovel. You don't say Makudash when it comes to making a new month. Amar Rav Yonah Shmuel Halacha K'Rezor Tzadok. Halacha follows our Mishnah. K'Rezor Tzadok says that you only say Makudash when you see a Bizman. Amar Abai Afan and Amitanina. We also learn this in a Brisa. Aru based in Chol Yisrael Nekaru. The Chol Yisrael. If all of Beis Din saw the new moon and all Yisrael saw Nekaru Eidim, when they speak Lord Makudash. And by the time they took in the witnesses, they weren't able to say Makudash until the 31st day. Ashachashecha, Hareza Ma'uber. It's Ma'uber. The month is Ma'uber. Ma'uber in Makudash Lo. So you see that if it goes to the 31st day, it's a Uber month, meaning it's an extra day. It's a longer month. But it doesn't say Makudash in the Bride. It doesn't say that they're Makadish it. So the Gemara says, no, it's not a good proof. Lo, Ma'uber, it's Richel. It had to say Ma'uber for a different reason. Since the Bride says the whole basin, all of Yisrael saw the new moon on the 30th day. You can't make that an extra month of a 30 days. We can't make an Uber month, a full month, because everyone saw it, the new moon on the 30th day. Kamash Milan, since the Edom didn't come in, they didn't get their testimony before the 31st. We can't make it. We can't make it a deficient month. It has to be a full month. Dmus Suros Levana Hayul Ramliel Betavla. Rav Gamliel, additional way of checking the Edom, he actually had cutouts. He had wooden pieces in different shapes of a moon. So he had them on the wall in his attic. People weren't able to always explain so well what the moon looked like. So he had different pictures or different. It was actually pieces of wood in the shape of a moon, which showed what the moon possibly looked like. They had identified what the moon looked like based on their identification. He could tell whether they were lying or not. The Gemara says, "Mishari, is it possible to do such a thing, to make such figures of a moon? Losasun osi. Losasun can move shamasha." It says in the pasuk you shouldn't make Hashem. It's talking about you shouldn't replicate the image of Hashem. The Gemara, the Bryce explains that you shouldn't make forms of things that serve me, the celestial bodies in the heaven that serve him, like including the sun, moon, and stars. The Gemara answers, the Torah only answered things that you can make exactly like them. You can't make the exact replica of a moon. You shouldn't make your house the shape of the heichal of the Mishkan. Achsadra, if you have a pavilion, you shouldn't make it tamnes ulam. You shouldn't make like the antechamber in front of the Beis Hamikdash, and the ulam was the antechamber in front of the heichal. Chatzar keneged azar. You shouldn't make your courtyard like the azar in the Beis Hamikdash with the same dimensions. Shulchan keneged shulchan. You shouldn't make a table in your house like a shulchan in the heichal. Menorah keneged menorah. You shouldn't make a menorah in your house like the menorah in the Beis Hamikdash. Aval osa shel chamisha v'shel shisha v'shel shmono. You're allowed to make a menorah out of 5 lights, 6 or 8, not 7. There were 7 in the Beis Hamikdash. So on Chanukah you can make 8. V'shel shiva lo yas. The Gemara says of 7 lanterns you can't make, 7 protruding lights you can't make. Hafilu shel shar mine machos. You can't even make 7, even if it's not exactly made out of gold. The Beis Hamikdash was made out of gold. Even if it's made out of different metal, it's too similar to the Beis Hamikdash. He says not even metal, even a wooden one you can't make if it's 7 lights. Because when the Hashmonayim beat the Greeks in the story of Hanukkah, they made a menorah out of wood. The people that argued on him asked him, your proof is from there. Shpudin shal barzal. It wasn't made out of wood. It was made out of iron. They covered it with tin. Heshiru, they made it got richer. Hasam shal kesef, they made it out of silver. Chazru heshiru hasam shal zav. Then they went and they plated it with gold. V'shamashin, so the Gemara continues. V'shamashin sheyev shalasos kamosan mishari. The Gemara gave an answer. If you can't make an exact replica, it's mutter. Is that really true? Mishari v'atanya losasun osi losasun kunmushamasha mishamshin lefanim amarim. It actually says in this braysa the things that are mishamish in the marom in the heavens, which is an obvious reference to things like the moon and the sun, which you can't replicate exactly. We're only talking about there's 2 levels in heaven. There's the sun, moon, and the stars, and above the sun, moon, and stars, exactly what this means. Elon Musk is going to try to figure this out. Exactly above the sun, moon, and the stars is actually chayos. There's malachim. There's ofanim, chayos, different types of creatures that, whatever they are, that serve Hashem, that are above the regular heavens. Elon Musk will send you there for $1 billion. So the Gemara says that like it describes in Yechezkel, where you have these creatures, some of these alphanim and these chayos had 4 faces. They had a face that was like a square and 4 different images on those faces. Whereas parts of Adam l'chudei tishtar. If we're only going to answer those types of beings, so then to make a replica of a person's face, that should be mutter. Alamatanya. We see that's not true. Kol bar tzuvos mutarin. All images are faces are mutarin. Chutz me parts of Adam. You can't make the face of a man. You can make the face of an animal, not to make the face of a man. I heard in the shir of Abaye, losasun osi, losasun osi. Really, the pasuk is losasun iti. You shouldn't make it with me. Losasun osi, also pronounced osi. You shouldn't make me. Meaning Hashem is the form of, looks like a human being. So you shouldn't make it with me. This is kind of controversial, obviously. I think who says that Hashem does not have the appearance of a person? It obviously is a spiritual existence. You always assume that, right? Then God is not a person.
Right.
God is not corporeal. He doesn't have a physical being. So in this Gemara, it seems that it's exactly what the Gemara is saying, that God is a human being. But the article explains that he replicates himself as a human being. For us to understand him, he makes himself out as like a human being so that we can understand him better. Once when I was in high school, there was a yeshiva that came, yeshiva, to get us to come to learn in Israel after 12th grade. And one of these was an up and coming yeshiva, and one of the rabbis spoke there, and he explained that the hand of God is like the hand of a human being. And I don't know if exactly he meant that God has a real hand or something like this, that it's just in a replica of a hand so we can understand it better. But people in my class actually took it to mean that it was a real hand, God had a real hand.
Is rolling it to yeah.
So what do you say about that? No, but Hashem he explains himself. He describes himself as a way of a human being, which is so we can understand.
Right.
Drawing to his extended arm, that he had a lot of power like a person. But I don't know. Yeah, tell me what you think. Leave that in the comments also. What do you think? God's a human being or not?
We could have a conversation for 100 years and never come to that conclusion because our mind is not capable of understanding such a thing.
It's true. It really is true.
Right.
There is a thought process in the secular world called pantheism or pandeism, that God actually is part of this world. There is nothing else besides this world. It's pandeism is from deism. Deism is God created the world and left. Theism is that he actually is present in this world. Anyway, they both subscribe to the view that God is corporeal, God is part of this world. So there is thoughts out there. I don't think it's a mainstream Jewish thought, but there are people out there that think like that. All right. So the Gemara says, other celestial beings are mutter v'hatani lo sasan osi lo sasan kan mushamashai habishamshim lefanav emarim k'mon afanim misrafim mechayetz hakodesh malachei hasharis. It doesn't just say four faces. It says all these malachim and afanim arabai lo asher Torah lo shemashim shemadar elyon, the ones that were in the upper dwelling, meaning above the sun and the stars and the moon. Shemadar atachtam yishari, is the Gemara persists. Is it really mutter the ones on the lower level? It says in the pasuk, Asher b'shamayim, to include the lower beings. Mimal is to include the upper beings. So you see the lower beings are included. So the Gemara says that Brisa was talking about worshiping the sun and the moon and the stars. That you can't do. To make them, you could make. The Gemara says, it's talking about worshiping. Why does it only say the sun, moon, and the stars? Even a small worm you can't worship. So the Gemara says, "Nachanami, the Tanya Sherbahar is the Rabos Harim Migvos Sherbaaretz, that you can't worship things in the land. The Rabos Harim Migvos, mountains and hills, Yamim and Aros, rivers and Yamim or oceans, Naros are rivers, Afikim or streams, Geos are valleys, Mitachas. The Rabos Shloshakatan, even a lowly worm. Vasiya, so you see, it's usher to worship even that. Vasiya Gridasam Yishari. The Gemara says making it is really permissible. Tanya Lasasan also. Lasasan can mut Shamasham Shamsham Lafanak Chamal Vanak Chamazalos. It says in this pasuk Lasasan, making, not just worshiping. It says actually making. I saw it says exactly. The Lavana is mentioned as one of the things. So the Gemara finally relents. The Gemara says, Shani Gamliel da Acher Masulo. Gamliel, he had these replicas of the moon, but Acherim, non-Jews, made it for him. The Gemara says, Rav Yehuda da Acher Masulo. Rav Yehuda also had other people made it from non-Jews. Rav Yehuda Shina Sami Eini Dedain. He had a picture of a man, or a figure of a man, a little menchi, what looked like a man, and he said, make blot out part of its face. That shouldn't look like a man. Hasam chotma boled hava. I think where it says there, he had a signet ring, which is the shape of a face of a person, let's say. Mishum chashada. There was because of chashad, not a real isser. It's just suspicion that you're worshiping a man. The Brisa says if you have a signet ring, chosma boled aser. If it's protruding, the chosim, the seal, let's say in the shape of a person's face, then it's asher lahanicha. You can't wear it. You could in private, you could sign with it, because if it's protruding when you press down, it makes a impression which is depressed in the thing. It doesn't look like a person's image. Chosma shokeya, but if the signet ring, the part of the signet ring which makes the seal is depressed, you can wear it, people can't see it. But also there's no chashad. Also you can't sign with it, you can't seal with it, because then it'll make a real impression of a person, an elevated impression. The Gemara asked on this whole premise, I'm really concerned for chashad, the Shavi Yosef bin Harda, the Havi Be'andarda. There was a shul that was destroyed and rebuilt in the Harda that had a statue of the king, V'havu Aili, a non-Jewish king, V'havu Aili Rabbi Shmuel, V'havu Shmuel, V'levi, Matzav Hasam. All these rabbis would go there and daven there. So why aren't we concerned with Chashada? They're going to worship him, the statue. Hasam, V'lo Chayishil Chashada. And we weren't concerned with Chashad. And where it says Rabbim shining, when it's a public place, we aren't concerned that they're going to worship the king because the statue, because other people around. And where it says V'har B'gamlil Yachadu, you should worry about it. And where it says Kevan Denasi Ushchichi Rabbim, since he was the president, he was the president of the Kehila in Eretz Yisrael, there were always a lot of people by him knocking on his door, so therefore there's no chashad. Ibai Yisem, alternatively, but the Prokim Hava, really, Gamliel was allowed to have these replicas of the moon because they weren't whole pictures of the moon, they were part, it was like a puzzle. And he would simply put them together, and when he was done showing the Eidim, he would take it apart, so it wasn't really considered to be an image of a moon. A different answer is that he only did it to teach people the halacha. It says you shouldn't learn to do sorcery, you shouldn't learn to do avodah zarah. You could learn avodah zarah in order to understand it and to teach people what not to do. So if you teach people what not to do, then it's a heter for making these things. It's the conclusion of the daf for today. How was it today, Dad? Good share?
Good. So if your children draw a picture of the sun
Yeah.
gone, is that something that is accepted in Telstone or no?
At Telstone, they do avodah zarah, so it's okay. At Telstone, I'm joking. First of all, it's not an image, it's not sticking out, it's just on a picture. It's a two-dimensional. I believe the Gemara is referring to as like a figure, a replica, a three-dimensional replica. 3D.
What about the globe that we're looking at ahead of us?
It's not in the marom. It's not in the sky.
Ah.
There's no sun and stars. You can't worship the globe. Napoleon worshipped the globe. Napoleon wanted to conquer the world.
He almost made it.
He didn't almost make it.
He conquered Waterloo.
He conquered a good part of Europe. That's about it. I mean, everyone always tries to conquer Europe. I don't know. You play the game of risk. Europe is right in the middle. It's very hard to protect Europe. I don't know why they always try to conquer the world from Europe. If you're conquering the world, you got to start in the right place. I prefer to start in the USA. Whenever I play Risk, I start in the USA. Everyone likes to start in Australia because you can always protect that. There's no way of getting there, but you always get two extra soldiers. But I like start in America because you get 5 soldiers. If you get the whole continent, you get 5 soldiers every turn. And it's easy to protect. It's pretty easy to protect. And some people don't even realize you can go from, what's that place in the end of Russia? Ikitsak, Kayatsak, Kiyatsak, Kamchatka, the end of it to Alaska. It connects to Alaska. Some people don't realize. I used to play with my nieces in Israel. They didn't realize that. They thought the board was flat. They didn't realize that Alaska connects with above Japan. There's a little piece of land there in Siberia. In Russia, it connects with Alaska. So
right.
People don't realize that, so you don't have to protect Alaska. So you only really have to protect Greenland and the south. You have to protect Mexico. That's about it.
Well, nobody can protect Mexico.
I mean, Central America.
Because they didn't allow Trump to finish his wall.
I didn't allow him. I didn't have time. I mean...
Yeah.
All right, politics. We don't get the politics this shit. All right, see you tomorrow. Bye.